And the clock continues to tick. Election Day is coming up. Welcome back. Local Decision 2024. I'm Eric Nelson. Thanks for joining us. And in the North Metro TV studios now is Anita Rios. Special election running for Centerville City Council. So you're unopposed, Anita.
I am.
And thank you for stopping by. And let's start out with you telling the viewers about yourself and why you want to be on the council.
Sure. Well, I have been a Centerville resident for 17 years. My husband and I moved our family there in 2007. We were looking for a place that was closer to work, to our jobs in downtown St. Paul. And we were really drawn by the lakes and the trails and the parks. And since we moved in, we've just gotten to love our neighbors and know so many people. We love the area. I am recently retired from a 35-year career in public higher ed. And now that our girls are grown and gone, I just think it's time to give back a little bit more to the community because I have time working as a part-time consultant.
Do you feel like, Anita, your background, your resume has prepared you for this moment to be on the council?
I do. I do. My background is in human resource development. I've worked a lot in organization development and have a lot of experience in how to do community building, community engagement. I've done a lot of those efforts throughout my career, and I see a huge need with the city and city council to bring people into decision-making processes so they're not surprised by things. Recently, earlier in the year in January, there was a proposal for an apartment complex that was going to go in right next to the school in the downtown core and be replacing a beautiful historic home on a hill that was built in the 1800s. And I looked at that and thought, well, that just doesn't make sense there. And I started talking to other neighbors and learning more about our city's planning documents, about zoning codes, and the master plan done in 2006. And I started raising awareness and getting people involved in the process of the city looking at that proposal. And so I think I've done a lot of advocacy on behalf of many neighbors, and certainly I'm looking forward to representing Centerville citizens on the council.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Centerville has looked at some higher density housing the last few years, the apartment proposal, Block 7 apartments. Moving forward, how should the city of Centerville deal with these kind of things?
I think that's a really good question, Eric. Right now, I'm advocating for reimagining the master plan. We currently have a master plan that's 18 years old and it's never been realized. A bunch of property in the downtown core was rezoned to high density, and it's done a number of disservices to current homeowners there where they are restricted and can't improve their properties by more than 25%. And some of them are having trouble selling their homes. So there are limitations there. And I was surprised to learn that even the church property, the old historic St. Genevieve's Church on the hill that many people would recognize, it's iconic in our city, that's been rezoned to high density. And I know that city administrators have been calling the diocese, asking if they'd be interested in selling so that high-density homes can go in that area. So I think that's an area of concern for many Centerville residents, and I'm looking forward to re-envisioning that master plan to say, what is it that people want in Centerville? What kind of place do they want to live in? And then what will make Centerville successful in the next 5, 10, 15 years? So I think it's really more of a process of re-envisioning that. I'm not against high density at all, but I think with that very small downtown core, we have to think about smart, thoughtful development for that area.
If you could single out some things going well right now in Centerville, what would they be?
Things going well. I think that a couple of things going well is that with this whole proposed development, that many people have gotten involved and engaged, and I think we have to grab onto that and invite people in to that reimagining of the downtown area, but even more broadly, what kind of development do we want in the small pockets of land that we have left? We're a tiny town. We're 2 miles wide, and we've got very few acres left to develop for commercial and for residential, and after that it's all redevelopment. So we have to think about that really carefully.
And when you talk about downtown, does that need to be spruced up, the core of Centerville? Because you have the Main Street Market, you have the water ski show, and those are popular events in the summer, but do you need to do more?
Yes, I think we do. And I think with current business owners, it would be really helpful to look at how we support them and help them develop their businesses. Certainly there are areas of the downtown core that do need sprucing up. I agree with you that the Market Fest and the water ski show, they're absolutely wonderful. And going back to your earlier question, that is an area that Centerville is doing very well in. They also do very well in just maintaining some of the infrastructure in the city, looking at keeping roads up to date. We do have some work, though, in our parks and working on replacing old, outdated playground equipment.
What about the budget? What would be your priorities?
I have to do a little bit more homework about the budget. I can say that at one of the last city council meetings, I was very impressed with the finance director and how conservatively city staff and city council has managed that budget over time. I am very much a fiscal conservative, and so I like to make sure that our tax dollars are spent wisely and that things are prioritized, but then prioritize going back to a plan. So that's where I'd like to see more planning efforts with involving citizens in Centerville.
So you're running unopposed. Are you still out door knocking, though? Are you trying to, make sure you get to know the residents?
That's a really good question, Eric. I haven't started door knocking for my campaign, but I can tell you since April I have been door knocking, and I've knocked on over 200 doors. It's not a lot, but it's significant in terms of how many people I've been able to talk with about their concerns and sort of their hopes for Centerville. Moving forward with the campaign, as soon as we get our flyers, I'll be out knocking on doors, and I want to know a few things from Centerville residents. One is, what do they value most about our small town? Second, what would they like to see changed? And the third thing is, how can I best represent them? And In addition to that, I'll be stumping for my running mates. We're running on the same platform of smart and thoughtful development in Centerville, and citizen involvement and engagement. And so my running mates include Nancy Golden, who is running for mayor, and Garland Port, who is running for a 4-year council seat.
So Centerville is this tiny dot on the map in the Twin Cities metro, but do you look at the city as a gem? I mean, you're close to both the downtowns in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and yet it has an up north feel. Is that the appeal of the city?
It really is. When I've talked to residents, so many people have said, I moved here for the small town. You know, I know my neighbors. I've got, you know, beautiful lakes, parks, and trails. The trails make it walkable. So when we talk about our downtown core, you know, which is just this little intersection of Main Street and Centerville Road, people are out walking. They're walking their kids. They're walking their dogs. They're biking, and it's just a kind of wonderful place to be. And so I've really valued that in the time that I've lived there. And I've heard from people who said, I lived here, I moved away to, you know, a downtown area, hated it, moved back. Centerville really is my home.
What would you like to accomplish on the city council?
Couple things. One, my highest priority is to work with Centerville residents to rework this downtown master plan, to make it realistic, something that we can actually implement, because the last plan's been sitting on a shelf for 18 years and has basically caused some problems with the rezoning efforts that were put in place. So, and then the second really is to make sure that we have greater transparency with citizens, so that we're doing better communication and better involvement. I have a real particular perspective on how you do good communication, and it's through two different things. One, you consider, who are my stakeholders? Who is going to be affected by this decision or by this issue? And then get them engaged and involved, or at least communicate with them. And then in communicating 8 times in 8 different ways, because we know people are so busy, especially people raising young kids. I've been there, you know, where you're juggling a job, you're juggling kids' sports, music, whatever it is, and trying to maintain your home and be a good neighbor, and you don't have a lot of time to pay attention to larger city issues. And so thinking about how do we reach out to people and get their attention so that they can be informed and involved in the things that they're interested in.
All right, this is your chance now to tell the viewers why they should vote for you. Again, you're running unopposed, but why are you the person who should be on that council?
Yep, I can say that in my experience talking with Centerville residents and advocating for folks and communicating with people is that I will value your voice on the Centerville City Council. You know, if you have an issue, if you have a concern, I want to hear it, but I'm going to be proactive in getting out there and finding out what those issues are. I'm not going to always wait until they come to me. So I think the value of my service on the council is just that focus on communication, greater transparency. If there's a public hearing, let's not just advertise it in the quad press, which a lot of people, you know, don't see or get a chance to read in time for a public hearing. Let's make sure that folks know and figure out how we publicize that on social media, how we get it out with signage. There are multiple ways to communicate and do it more effectively. I think the city's improved over time about that, but you can always improve in my book.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us and stopping by.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate the time.
All right, very good. She's Anita Rios, running for Centerville City Council, special election, unopposed. Thanks for tuning into this edition of Local Decision 2024.